Hello and welcome to another amazing part of What If Deku Ran an Orphanage? Kyodon wrote this amazing story. Please support them. Don't forget to like, sub, and leave a comment. Now let's dive in. And now we're on to the first half of the semi-finals. And first up are four of our most talented girls, aside from myself of course. It's Fuku and Kyoku versus Shiruku and Kano. Wait, isn't everyone in the top 8 girls except for Tenko? Mies pointed out. Guess girls are just better at Pokemon battles. Except for Tenko. Good on you, little one. Kiba said as both teams approached the stage. You've done well, girls, but I'm afraid we'll have to eliminate you, Kano said with a hint of both politeness and smugness at the same time. Funny, I was about to say the same to you. Kyoku shot back. Well, if that's all you have to say, then let us begin, Shiruku said. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX first Pokemon. Volcarona cooed as they took the field. I'll be relying on you once more, Spitups, Shiruku said as she sent out her own Pokemon. Dops. Spitups roared as they hit the battlefield, glaring at their opponents. Let's crush them. Hatterene. Kyoku shouted, unleashing her Pokemon in return. Renee. Hatterene hissed as they came out. Let's do our best. Kibishi. Fuku called as she unleashed her brand new Pokemon. Golisopod. Cried out, Kibishi. The Golisopod cried as they exploded from their Pokeball. Let the battle begin. Kiba announced. Toxic Spikes. Shiruku ordered immediately. Quiver Dance. Kano added. Use Mystical Fire on Spitups. Kyoku commanded. Hit Volcarona with Sand Attack. Fuku said, finishing the chain of commands. Hot. Hatterene drew a circle of fire in front of them, aiming it at Spitups, while the arachnid Pokemon formed a bundle of toxic spikes in their arms. Dops/Renee. As Spitups threw his bundle of spikes into the air, Hatterene launched a jet of flames right at the spider. As the spikes went to land on the opposite side, suddenly they bounced off of nothing and landed back on Shiruku and Kano's side, thanks to Magic Bounce, but the flames didn't waver and engulfed Spitups, doing big, super effective damage. Spyeth. Meanwhile, Volcarona was doing an elegant dance, fluttering his wings about, boosting their special stats as well as their speed, but while they were doing that, Kibishi came running up to them, dragging their claw across the ground before raising it up, causing sand from the ground to go flying up into Volcarona's face, making them recoil and lowering their accuracy. Now hit them with Razor Shell. Fuku followed up. Galiso. Pod. Kibishi rushed forward as Volcarona was still trying to rub the sand out of its eyes, water forming around its razor-sharp left claw, before he swiped it across Volcarona's body, doing major super effective damage to the burning bug, laying Volcarona out on the floor. But when Golisop's claw reached Volcarona's body and the water dispersed, fire burst onto Golisop's claw and spread to the rest of his body, inflicting him with burn. Go. Oh no. Kibishi. Fuku cried out. Volcarona. Rise again and use Fiery Dance on Hatterene. Kano commanded. Counter with Mystical Fire. Kyoku counter. As Volcarona floated back up, flapping their wings about to begin their dance, Hatterene drew another flame circle, this time aimed right at Volcarona. Renee/Rona. Both Pokemon unleashed their attacks at the same time, sending fire at each other. Boom. The flames collided and exploded against each other, creating a massive blaze, before it quickly died down, turning into a cloud of smoke. Spitups used Leech Life on Hatterene. Shiruku commanded. While Hattern was still focused on the smoke and fizzling flames, Spitups lunged at Hattern with their mouth open and fangs glowing bright green, before clamping their maw onto Hattern, biting deep into their body of hair and leeching some of their HP, making Hattern cry out. Renee. Humph, ignore the spider and give Kibishi a helping hand. Kyoku ordered. Alright, use Fiery Dance on Hattern again. Kano commanded. Jump off, Spitups. Shiruku added. Hat. Hattera did as instructed, ignoring the arachnid and extending her long hair hand toward Kibishi, while Volcarona prepared another dance, creating fireballs around them. Before you get the helping hand, use Sand Attack on Volcarona again, then when you get the boost, use Razor Shell. Fuku yelled. Liso. As Volcarona was about to fire its attack, Kibishi once again stuck its claw in the ground and then flung sand forward, right at Volcarona's face. But the fireballs launched just before the sand hit the bug's many eyes, making them recoil. The fire homed in on Hatterene as Hatterene's hand kept extending toward Kibishi. Hatteran's hand reached Kibishi, patting them on the back and imbuing them with great power, just before the flames hit them. Boom. The fireball slammed into Hatteran and exploded, doing big damage to the fairy psyche type, leaving their HP close to the red, and increasing Volcarona's special attack stats significantly. Go! Kibishi raised their claw up to the sky, and it doubled in size as razor-sharp water wrapped around it, and they lunged at Volcarona. Dodge it! Kano desperately commanded. But it was no use. Volcarona stared at Kibishi with sand still hurting their eyes, and was barely able to tell where they were coming from, let alone how close they were, and by the time they got even close to recovering, Kibishi was already upon them, and delivered another devastating slash that sent Volcarona flying back into the wall. Volcarona groaned in pain, that last slash leaving them in the red, only not knocking them out thanks to the burn lowering Kibishi's attack power. Again. Take all of Hatteran's HP for yourself. Shiroku commanded. SPI. Spitups once again lunged onto Hatteran and sank their fangs into them, draining their HP even further, healing Spitups up to full and putting Hatteran on the brink of fainting. But Hatteran still had that small sliver of HP and that was enough. I'll be taking that back. Get that thing off you and use Pain Split. Kyoko ordered. Hatteran smacked Spitups off them, before their eyes started glowing, and a white energy link formed between the two Pokemon, stealing most of Spitups' HP and giving to Hatteran, putting the hairy fairy near full health while Spitups now teetered near the red. Now finish them with mystical fire. Kyoko followed up. Silk Trap. Shiroku ordered. As Hatteran quickly formed a circle and shot another stream of magical flames at Spitups, the spider created a web shield in front of him and blocked the onslaught of flames. Knowing this would likely be their last move before their Pokemon was knocked out, they decided to get as much damage out as they could. Volcarona, show them an unending heat wave. Stop them. Razor Shell. Fuku shouted. Golisopod. Kibishi roared as they ran toward Volcarona, who was still embedded in the wall of the stadium. Long before they ever get close, Volcarona's wings glowed a burning orange. With a series of mighty flaps, it sent waves of heat rushing toward the entire other half of the battlefield. Spitups leapt back, barely managing to avoid getting caught in the crossfire, as the heat wave engulfed Hatteran and Kibishi, draining their HP every second they had to endure it. Go, Lee! Kibishi still marched forward, pushing against the harsh, hot winds, and steadily getting closer and closer, until they finally made it within range for attack. Their claws extended out, water covering them, and immediately steaming under the intense head. Kibishi raised it up and slammed it down on Volcarona. Boom. As soon as Kibishi's claws made contact with Volcarona's red-hot body, an explosion of steam erupted, obscuring the two Pokemon from sight. Everyone waited as the steam slowly subsided. Eventually, a figure could be seen, standing tall, and as the fog lifted, it revealed Kibishi, with their claws pinning an unconscious Volcarona to the wall. And then, fwash! Flames erupted all over Kibishi's body, doing just enough damage to activate emergency exit and send them back into their Pokeball. And Volcarona is unable to battle. Kibishi proved himself a worthy replacement for Petey, taking out Volcarona before they could sweep the competition. Kiba announced. But they made their exit immediately after. Things aren't looking good for Shiroku and Kano. Spitups is on its last legs, and both of their last Pokemon are 4 times weak to fire. If they can't take out Hatteran quickly, they stand no chance. Mies pointed out. After Kibishi went back to their ball, Kuma was automatically switched in. Shine on, Frosmoth. Kano cried as she unleashed her last Pokemon. Moth. Frosmoth cooed as they flew out of their Pokeball, gracefully fluttering their icy wings. Alright, melt that moth with mystical fire. Kyoko shouted. Counter with blizzard. Kano commanded. Hatteran/moth. Frosmoth unleashed a harsh wind filled with jagged ice with a big flap of their wings, and Hatteran unleashed a torrent of flames in return. The two attacks met, and the flames melted through the blizzard, traveling straight through it and engulfing Frosmoth. Frosmoth's HP was decimated. The only thing keeping them from instantly fainting was their Ice Scales ability. Leech life on Hatteran again? Shiroku knew this was likely pointless, but there was little else she could do. Stop them with Facade. Fuku commanded. Dops. Spitups once again lunged at Hatteran, but this time, before their fangs could touch a single lock of their hair, Beware came in and punched them right in the face, sending them flying. Spitups's body bounced across the battlefield like a stone atop water a couple of times, before coming to a stop, landing unconscious a few yards away from their master. And now Spidups is unable to battle. With Shiruku's backup Pokemon also being 4 times weak to fire, it seems like the battle will soon come to an end. Mies announced. Shiruku looked back at her other Pokemon before looking back up at Hattern, then sighing. I think it's time we stopped. I suppose allowing our Pokemon to struggle like this would be unfashionable. Very well. We surrender. Kano said. Shuku and Kano have surrendered. This makes Fuku and Kyoku the winners. Kiba shouted. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX and not gone out in such a sorry manner. Don't worry too much about it, sister. That Hatterene was an absolute disaster of a matchup for us. Shiruka reassured her. Well, that's what happens when you have two Pokemon with a 4 times weakness to fire. Kyoko pointed out. Your literal only Pokemon that doesn't get melted in 2 moves was Volcarona. You did really well. People look down on bug types, but you made it all the way to the semifinals. Fuku said to try and make them feel a little better. Well, I suppose doing better than most will have to do. Kano sighed as she flew over to the opposite side of the table and offered her hands. Good game, girls. And so with a respectful handshake, the first match of the semifinals came to a close. The second and last match of the semifinals will now begin, Kiba shouted. The winners of this match will face Fuku and Kyoko in the finals, for the honor of becoming the Midoriya House Pokemon champions. It's Inu and Yaba versus Tenko and Himiko. Nish shouted as both teams went onto the arena. Good job making it all the way here, but this is where you bow out. Yaba said as she cracked her knuckles and gave her opponents a fearsome grin. You know this is a Pokemon battle and not a real fight, right? Tenko asked as he began to sweat nervously under the girl's intense glare. Sis, please calm down. Inu sighed, being all too used to saying those words. Hey, no need for threats. We'll just let our Pokemon do the talking. Himiko said as she responded to Yaba's grin with her own. Let's get this battle started. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX they threw their pokeball onto the field. Might/bolt. The two doggos barked as they popped out onto the field. Let's teach these dogs how to play dead. Come out, Scruffy. Himiko said as she sent out her first Pokemon. Berserker. Scruffy roared as they brandished their claws ready for battle. You know what to do, Palafin, Tenko said as he sent out his Pokemon once more. Palafin. Palafin squeaked as they popped out of their Pokeball. Let the battle begin. Kiba called. Without a word, Tenko immediately called Palafin back and replaced them with Cinccino, just as he'd done in all of his previous battles. Zappy use Roar on Scruffy. Inu ordered. Once she's done, use Taunt on Copycat. Yaba added immediately afterward. Bolt. UND. Boltund let out a fearsome roar, launching a wave of sound that slammed into Scruffy, and sent them flying back into their Pokeball, and automatically switched them out with Copycat. Ditto. Copycat cheered before their ability, Imposter activated, and they immediately transformed into a copy of Mytiana. And as soon as they came in, the real Mytiana glared at them, and cocked their head back in a taunting motion, enraging Copycat and sealing off all non-attacking moves. Tidy up. Tenko quickly commanded, knowing that he might get taunted before he could use it if he waited even a second too long. Cinccino barely had time to pull out their adorable little broom and started sweeping, before the Hellhounds gave their own commands. Hit them with Nuzzle. Inu shouted. Then use Foul Play. Yaba added swiftly. Bolt. Bolt/Mighty. The two doggos rushed towards Cinccino. Zappy up front and Mytiana right behind them, dark energy shrouding their body, growing wildly with each step. As Cinccino finished tidying up, increasing their speed and attack power, Zappy was upon them, and slammed their head into theirs before releasing a weak electrical discharge, doing a bit of damage and inflicting them with paralysis. Immediately after Boltund jumped out of the way, Mytiana slammed into them, attacking them with their own enhanced attack stat, doing big damage to Cinccino and knocking them onto their back. Cinccino. Get back up and hit Zappy with Tail Slap. Tenko commanded. Double up. And hit Zappy with Foul Play. Himiko added. CI. Cinccino jumped back up onto their feet and lunged at Zappy, their tail lighting up with energy as they turned, and slapped the dog in the face again and again and again, finishing with 5 powerful slaps in the face, doing big damage to the electric hound and making them stumble back, only for Copycat to rush in and slam into them, knocking them over and taking even more of their health. Use Nuzzle on Copycat, Inu ordered. Give Cinchino a taste of our swagger. Yaba followed. Well, why don't we give Zappy a taste of your sucker punch? Himiko commanded. Well, let's rock Zappy's world with Rock Blast, Tenko said, his face getting redder and his voice quieter as the sentence continued, as he became less and less confident about his terrible pun. Everyone collectively chose to ignore said pun, except Himiko and Kei. The former gave him a smile and a pat on the back, while the latter just gave him a double thumbs up from the stands. Zappy rolled back onto their feet, but the moment they went to run, Copycat appeared in front of them in a flash, and socked them in the face with their paw, taking them from yellow into the red. The doggo skidded back, and despite being so low on health, they shook off the blow and rushed back at Maitaina, headbutting Copycat, and delivering another paralyzing shock and doing a bit of damage to the imposter. Meanwhile, the real Maitaina struck a pose, giving Cinchino a cocky, swaggerific grin, inflicting Cinchino with confusion and increasing their attack by 2 stages. "See, Chino?" Cinchino teetered about in a daze. They formed a rock, but instead of shooting it at Zappy, they dropped it and slammed their head down onto it, doing big damage to themselves. Oh no! Tenko cringed, knowing Cinchino was completely screwed at this point. But instead of performing another attack, Inu chooses to return Zappy and switch them out for Steam Bun. Steam Bun uses Wish. Maitaina finish off Cinchino with foul play. Yaba added, "Don't let them get close. Use Tail Slap to stop them." Tenko cried out, "Copycat, give Maitaina a taste of their own medicine with swagger." Himiko finished, "Mighty." Maitaina engulfed itself in dark energy before rushing toward Cinchino. The tiny little rodent turned around and got ready to smack them away with their tail, but suddenly they seized up, their body succumbing to paralysis, allowing Maitaina to safely come in and slam into them, sending them flying. Sithe. Cinchino landed in front of Tenko with swirls in its eyes. Cinchino is unable to battle. He's called out. Yaba and Inu are in the lead, but can they keep it up, under the pressure of Palafin's intense power? Tenko sighed as he recalled his Pokemon. Sorry, Cinchino. He brought out his next Pokeball and once again sent out his Dolphin. Let's go, Palafin. Palafin. Palafin cried as they burst out of their Pokemon, now in their hero form, striking a heroic pose before flexing their muscles. Yena? Copycat called out, getting the real Maitaina's attention, before they copied Maitaina's swaggerous pose, increasing Maitaina's attack sharply and inflicting confusion upon them. And while all this was happening, a bundle of light came out of Steam Bun and traveled up high into the sky. After that, Inu immediately recalled Steam Bun and sent Zappy back out. Just hold out a little longer, Maitaina. Use foul play on Palafin. Yaba called out. Stop them with Sucker Punch. Himiko ordered. Don't let Zappy heal. Finish them with Jet Punch. Tenko commanded. Endure it and counter with Nuzzle. Inu shouted. Pay all. Palafin cocked back their arm, water coiled around their fist and moved around like a current, before they rushed over toward Zappy with overwhelming speed. Zappy simply gritted their teeth, braced for impact and started emitting a weak electric current, so when Palafin's fist slammed into their face, they received a paralyzing shock and a bit of super effective damage. Fin/bolt. Palafin recoiled back while Zappy went flying, hitting the ground and skidding, until they stopped a few feet in front of their master. Yuand. Zappy groaned, barely hanging onto consciousness by a thread, fighting a losing battle to keep from falling unconscious. But just as their eyes were about to close, suddenly the light that Steam Bun shot up into the sky came back down right onto Zappy, going into their body and healing their wounds, bringing their HP back up. Zappy's eyes shot open and they jumped back onto their feet, shaking off the dirt and getting ready to continue the fight. Darn it. Tenko cursed his luck. Of course he had to get a low roll now of all times. Meanwhile, Maitaina fought through confusion and got ready to charge at Palafin, but then Copycat appeared before them and punched them in the face, knocking them back. Grr. Maitaina growled as they struggled getting back up on their feet due to the confusion, but Zappy came over and assisted them, helping stand once more. Let's try that again. Foul play. Yaba shouted. Give them a helping hand. Inu commanded. Bolt, bolt. Zappy gave Migina a pat on the back, causing them to burst with power, before Migina charged at Palafin once more. Counter with close combat. Tenko responded. As Maitaina rushed toward them, their bodies shrouded in fearsome dark energy. Palafin cocked back their arm, only for their body to seize up, succumbing to paralysis. And so Migina slammed into them, sending them flying, landing a few feet back, their back hitting the dirt, having sustained big damage. Now follow up with swagger, Yaba commanded. Me? Might. Maitayana tried to pull off their swagger pose, but ended up slamming their face into the ground in confusion, doing significant damage to themselves in confusion. Fuck. Yaba hissed. Zappy, give Palafin another nuzzle. Inu quickly. Stop them with close combat. Tenko commanded. Bolt. Palafin. Both Pokemon cried as they got ready to attack. Zappy charged toward Palafin, and Palafin cocked back their fist once more, making it burn bright with fighting spirit, before they rushed forward to meet Zappy head-on. Zappy released an electric charge as they grew close, and swiftly after, they clashed. Palafin's fist meeting Zappy's electrically charged face, sending volts of electricity through Palafin, dealing super effective damage, while Zappy was sent flying, slamming into the wall, and bringing their health back to almost nothing. Meanwhile, Palafin grunted in pain, as their defenses were lowered as a side effect of close combat. Inu swiftly returned Zappy to their Pokeball and brought Steambun back out. And seeing an opportunity, Himiko brought Copycat back and finally sent Scruffy back out. Let's finish Maitayana. With X-Scissor. Himiko commanded. Let's help her out. Use Jet Punch on Maitayana. Tenko added. Use Sucker Punch on Palafin. Yaba ordered. Wish. Inu shouted. Palafin cocked back their fist, and once again water wrapped around it, flowing like a rapid river, but before they could launch forward, Migina appeared in front of them and punched them right in the face. Paul? Palafin cried as they flew through the air before landing on their back right in front of their master. Palafin. Palafin tried to get back, struggling for a few moments, before succumbing to their injuries and passing out. Palafin is unable to battle. He's called. This leaves Himiko all alone. At a huge disadvantage. Can our clever ninja girl find a way to make a sneaky comeback? Or will she be crushed by the power of Inu and Yaba's sisterly bond? Aw. Tenko glumly returned Palafin to their ball and gave Himiko an apologetic look. Sorry. It's fine, bro. I'm about to avenge Palafin right now. Himiko said. Pair. Scruffy cried as it ran toward Migina, its claws glowing bright green. Maitayana stumbled, turning to look at their oncoming foe, only to see Scruffy's blade swinging at them. Circer. Scruffy slammed into Maitayana's side, dealing super effective damage and knocking Maitayana down to the ground, sending them sliding across the battlefield, eventually coming to a stop with spirals in their eyes. And now Maitayana has fallen. Himiko has finally taken out their first opponent, but she's still at a complete disadvantage. Will this be the first step in Himiko's comeback plan? Or is this just a small bump in the path of Yaba and Inu's inevitable victory? Kiba asked. The second one. It's the second one. Yaba answered as she returned Maitayana to their Pokeball. Hope you enjoyed that because now it's your turn. Bring it. Himiko taunted. Alright, Arcanine. Let's give her what she's asked for then. Yaba shouted as she lost her second Pokemon. Arcanine. Arcanine roared as it popped out of its Pokeball. Another bundle of light came out of Steambun and flew up into the air. And with that done, Inu returned Steambun and sent Zappy back out once again. Knowing what was coming, Himiko gave out her order immediately, hoping that just maybe she could get a decisive attack off before they were able to respond. Use X-Scissor on Zappy. But unfortunately, Inu wasn't as indecisive as she may appear, and immediately gave her order. Roar them away. Arcanine, give us a howl. Yaba added. Pair. Scruffy's blades glowed green once more, and they sprinted toward Zappy as fast as they could, while Zappy and Arcanine took deep breaths. Scruffy lunged forward, getting so close to his target, but unfortunately, not close enough. Boltuyuan/Aracaniine. Both doggos let off powerful howls. One increased both of their physical attack stats by one stage, and the other slammed into Scruffy, sending them flying right back into their Pokeball, and replacing them with Copycat, who immediately turned into a copy of Arcanine. A second later, the light came back down onto Zappy, healing their wounds and restoring half their health. Use extreme speed on Zappy. Himiko pivoted. Arc. Copycat barked as a white aura exploded from their body. But just as they were about to charge, Inu returned Zappy to their Pokeball, and brought Steambun back out, so when Copycat rocketed toward them with overwhelming speed, the fairy dog took the hit instead. Doc. Steam Bun yelped as they went flying a few feet before landing on their side, swiftly getting back up and shaking it off. Steam Bun used dig. Inu commanded. Don't let them outdo you. Extreme speed. Yaba shouted. Dodge it and counter with your own extreme speed. Himiko countered. Do the same thing. Yaba added. Arcanine. Copycat and Arcanine roared, as a white aura surrounded both their bodies. Arcanine rushed towards them first, but Copycat jumped to the side and then tried to tackle them, but Arcanine jumped into the air, avoiding it, and as soon as they landed they rushed toward Copycat once again. Copycat went to dodge once again, but then paralysis kicked in, stopping them from moving completely, allowing Arcanine to slam into them, ending the stalemate and sending them flying. And just as it seemed like Copycat was about to land, Steam Bun burst out of the ground and slammed into Copycat, dealing big super effective damage and sending Copycat flying higher into the air. Now at a sliver of HP. Finish them off, extreme speed. Yaba commanded. 9. Arcanine's body glowed white, and once again with overwhelming speed, they leapt into the air, leaping above Copycat before coming down, slamming into Copycat and bringing them hurtling toward the ground. The two hit the ground so hard that it created a big cloud of dust and dirt, obscuring both Pokémon from sight. After a few moments, the dust began to settle and the cloud faded, revealing Arcanine, standing over a pink puddle with swirly eyes, aka Copycat. Copycat is unable to battle. It seems this battle is coming to a close, everyone. Mies announced. The battle could end right now if you just gave up now, Yaba said smugly as Himiko returned her Pokémon to their Pokeball. We all know where this is going. Just save us some time and quit. I'm a Midoriya. I don't know how to quit. Himiko proclaimed proudly before tossing out her final Pokémon. If we're going out, we're going down swinging. Right, Scruffy? Berserker. Scruffy cried as they exploded out of their Pokeball. Hey, you've got guts, I'll give you that. Yaba praised as Inu returned Steam Bun and brought Zappy back out. But it won't save you. Flare Blitz. Helping hand. Inu added. Zappy jumped up and patted Arcanine on the side, causing it to burst with power, and then powerful flames exploded from Arcanine's body. Arcanine. Arcanine roared before they charged towards Scruffy at a breakneck pace. It's do or die time, Scruffy. Shadow Claw. Himiko commanded. Sir. Scruffy turned their claws into daggers, and then those daggers began to glow with dark, ghostly energy, before Scruffy charged at Arcanine. The two Pokémon rushed toward each other, and when they finally got close to one another, Scruffy lunged toward Arcanine and aimed their blade right at Arcanine's forehead. Boom. Upon contact, a massive explosion erupted, creating yet another big cloud of smoke. A second later, Scruffy came flying out, tumbling across the ground until they reached the feet of their master. Pair. Scruffy groaned as they shakily forced themselves up onto their feet. Their body was burned and bruised, their HP nearly in the red just from that attack. It was clear they would not be able to take another attack like that. But fortunately they didn't have to worry about that, because when the smoke faded, everyone saw Arcanine on the ground, knocked out. What the fuck? Yaba screamed. And Arcanine has been knocked out by a combination of recoil and a lucky critical hit, meaning that Yaba is out of the battle. Kiba shouted. It's 1-1-on-1, but Himiko is on her last legs? Is it possible she could snatch a win from the jaws of defeat? Or is this the last hurrah before her inevitable defeat? Lucky little dash, Yaba grumbled as she returned her Pokémon. Sorry sis, looks like you'll have to finish this. Why yeah. Inu took a deep breath. She'd been a little shaken by the plan going so awry, but in the end she still held the advantage. She just needed a good couple of hits. Zappy. Give them a nuzzle. Shadow Claw. Himiko countered. Pair. Scruffy once again coated his blades in ghostly energy and rushed toward Zappy, who in return charged right at them as well. Once again, as soon as they approached, Scruffy thrust their blade toward Boltun's face, but then Inu gave a last-minute order. Grab their blade with your mouth. As Scruffy's blade neared, Zappy opened their mouth and bit down on it, stopping the attack dead in its tracks, before delivering a weak, paralyzing shock through Berserker's body. Pair. You want to grab on? Then you better get ready. Pick him up and slam him down and keep going until they're knocked out. Himiko ordered. Pairer. Berserker fought through the volts and the paralysis, and used their immense strength to lift Zappy up into the air, before slamming them back down with all their might. Circer. Wham, 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 wham. Again and again, Scruffy lifted Zappy up and slammed them down all around them. With such strength, it tore apart the ground around them, continuing without end until Berserker kept into the air, lifted Zappy over their head one final time, and as they came back to the ground, they slammed Zappy into the dirt as hard as they could. UND. Zappy yelped as they hit the ground, pain coursing through their body, before quickly passing out, finally releasing Scruffy's blade. Zappy is unable to battle. By the void, somehow, Himiko managed to almost completely turn this battle around, taking out 2 opponents, leaving both teams with only 1 Pokemon. Kiba shouted. I fully believe this battle was over long ago. But could Himiko truly win against the odds? It's amazing, but don't forget Scruffy is at the brink of elimination. All Inu needs is 1 good hit. Me said. Inu silently returned Zappy before taking out Steambun's Pokeball. She took a deep breath before sending them out. Let's win, Steambun. Bun. Steambun cheered as they popped out of their Pokeball. Dig/Metal Claw. Inu and Himiko ordered simultaneously. Purr. Scruffy's claws turned a steely gray, and they ran towards Steambun. But they were far too slow. And Steambun managed to dig into the earth, vanishing from sight. Pair? Scruffy looked around frantically for their opponent, staying on high alert to hopefully maybe dodge the attack. Then moments later, Himiko noticed the dirt beneath their feet shift. Scruffy dodge. Sir? Scruffy looked down and noticed the ground beneath their feet started to crack, and they tried to roll to the side to dodge the oncoming attack. But then paralysis kicked in, and Scruffy was held in place long enough for Steambun to explode out of the ground and uppercut Scruffy, lifting them both into the air. A moment later they both hit the ground. Steambun landed on all fours while Scruffy landed flat on its back. Sir. Scruffy tried to get up, but a second later their strength gave way and they collapsed. Scruffy is unable to battle. Himiko and Tenko are both out of the Pokemon, making Inu and Yaba the winners. Kiba announced. Yeah. As the crowd cheered, Yaba released a breath she'd been holding. Damn. You really couldn't go down easily, huh? Well, I guess that's our bad for underestimating you. Sorry, Himiko. You got so close. If I'd done better, then we could have won. Tenko moped. Himiko gave him a pat on the back. Don't say that. I only did that well because they were so focused on you the entire time. You were such a threat. You completely overshadowed me. Yeah, we really didn't want to have to deal with that Palafin. Nasty. Yaba said. Everyone did their best, so there's no need to feel down, Inu added. Good game? Himik and Yaba looked at each other and nodded, before looking at Tenko, who still looked a bit glum, but picked himself up and nodded along with them. Good game. The time has finally come. What you've all been waiting for. What you all have been longing for. Everyone, it is time for the Midoriya Foundation Pokemon Tournament Finals. Kiba shouted. First up we have a pair of sweet and spicy. Kyoki and Fuku. Knees yelled out as Fuku and Kyoku walked toward the arena. And their opponents. Wolves in dogs' clothing. Ferocious pack predators. Inu and Yaba. Kiba announced as Yaba and Inu walked out toward the arena. Both teams have shown a mastery of teamwork, and a true understanding of what it takes to be a Pokemon master. But only one team can be the very best, like no one ever was. Me said. Both teams made it to the arena, and immediately Yaba started talking. Nice job you two. You made it all to the end. Now you get the honor of being our chew toy. You don't mean that literally, do you? Fuku asked, immediately wilting under Yaba's intense sneer. Don't let her intimidate you, sis. They're all bark and no bite. This is our time to shine. So let's put down these bad dogs. Kyoku taunted. But I like dogs, Fuku muttered, not really rocking with that analogy. Lot of talk for twerp. Alright then. Let's go. Yaba shouted. Let's go, Migina. Just one more battle, Zappy. Inu and Yaba shouted as they let their Pokemon out once again. Bolt. Yena. The dogs cried as they hopped onto the battlefield. Let's win this tournament. Hatterene. Kyoku exclaimed before tossing out her own Pokemon. Renee. Hatterene cooed as they popped onto the field. Fuku looked down at her Pokeball and held it close. No matter what happens, I'm happy we got this far. Let's do our best. Kuma. Where? Kuma cheered as they popped out their Pokeball with a big stupid grin on their face. Let the final battle of the tournament begin. Kiba signaled. Show that hairy little imp our swagger. Yaba commanded immediately. Then give them a nuzzle. Inu added. Bolt, bolt. Zappy rushed toward Hatterene, while Migatina struck a pose, gaining Hatterene's attention, doubling their attack while also inflicting them with confusion. Hatterene wobbled around, but despite that, they managed to draw a horrible out-of-squiggly circle, and shot out a jet of fire in front of them. Bolt. Zappy yelped as he was engulfed by the flames, dealing heavy damage each second and lowering Zappy's offensive stats. But Zappy continued running through the flames and burst out the other side, slamming their head into Hattern, and delivered another paralyzing shock before bouncing back. Renee. Meanwhile, Kuma created a duplicate of themselves to act as a decoy. Now use taunt on Hattern. Yaba ordered. Ga. Fine. Give Zappy another taste of mystic fire. Kyoku commanded. Zappy, don't let them attack. Use play rough, Inu shouted. Take the attack with the substitute and attack Maitayana with drain punch. Fuku directed. Might. Migina cocked its head in a taunting motion, infuriating Hatterene, and locking them into only attacking moves. Zappy meanwhile rushed toward Hatterene once again, their paws glowing pink as they ran, while Hatterene broke out of confusion entirely, and drew another flaming circle in the air. But Hatterene was far too slow, and Zappy closed the distance in no time, leaping forward ready to attack, only for the substitute to jump in the way. Zappy slammed their paws into the dummy, causing it to break after taking super effective damage, but they bought just enough time for Hatterene to finish their spell. Renee. Hatterene cried as they unleashed another blast of fire right in Zappy's face. Tund? Zappy got blasted back by the flames, sent flying all the way into the wall, embedding them into the concrete. The electric pup let out a sad yelp, its entire body hurting horribly from all the attacks it had taken. Its HP already nearing the red. Meanwhile, the real Kuma rushed toward Migina, raising its fist up high before slamming it down onto the pupper, pounding him into the ground, dealing heavy super effective damage and restoring Kuma's health back to full. Yaba cringed. Things were not going their way so far. Hatterene seems to refuse to succumb to confusion or paralysis, and their attacks were doing more damage than she anticipated. If she tried to stay in and taunt Kuma, then Migina would be down and out if Kuma and Hatterene focused on them next turn. But if they switched out right now, they'd be doing so ahead of schedule, and that might ruin their whole plan. She had to take a risk. Screw it. Inu, let's blitz M. Yaba decided as she brought Maitayana back into their pokeball, and brought Arcanine out instead. Arcanine. Use Flare Blitz on Kuma. Give them a helping hand. Inu added. Bolt. Zappy pushed itself out of the wall, landing on their feet before rushing over to Arcan, jumping up and giving them a pat on the back, making them glow white. Arcanine. Arcanine burst into flames before running toward Kuma at full speed. Kuma got ready to try and tank the attack as best they could, but then Kyoka gave a command. Hatterene helps Kuma dodge the psychic. Renee. Hatterene cooed as their eyes glowed, then Kuma's body was shrouded in a purple glow, and lifted up into the air, just as Arcanine lunged at them, causing the flaming doggy to completely miss their attack. Now slam him down on Arcanine. Kyoka shouted. Drain punch. Fuku quickly added. Stop Hatterene with play rough. Inu added even quicker. Kuma stopped going up and immediately started rocketing down toward Arcanine at breakneck speeds, while the bear cocked back their fists. Where? Boom. Kuma slammed into Arcanine, hitting like a meteor and causing a big cloud of dirt and dust to erupt on the spot, obscuring both Pokemon from sight. Hatterene looked at the deduction with pride, a smug smirk on their face, before Zappy slammed into their side, knocking them down and doing more damage. Renee. I've had about enough of you. Hatterene finishes them with Psychic. Kyoko ordered. Nah. Before Hatterene could attack, Inu returned Zappy to their Pokeball, bringing out Steambun to take their place. As soon as they hit the field, Steambun's body was grabbed by Hatterene's psychic power, and lifted up into the air before getting slammed down, taking quite a bit of damage. Doc. Meanwhile, the cloud of dust and dirt started to settle, revealing Kuma, their fist pinning Aranene's head into the ground. Arcanine. Get them off you with Flare Blitz. Yaba commanded. Jump back and use Substitute. Fuku ordered in return. Arcanine's body started to heat up under Kuma's fist, but Kuma jumped back just before Arcanine's body burst into flames, and they lunged at Kuma once again. But in the nick of time, Kuma created a body double that took the damage in their stead. Arcanine slammed into the substitute, destroying it instantly and doing a bit of damage to itself. Pin that mutt down. With Psychic. Kyoku shouted. H hit them with another drain punch. Stop Hatterene. With Snarl. Inu countered. Renee. Hatterene, after getting up and dusting themselves off, stared at Arcanine, their eyes glowing before a psychic force pinned the fire puppy to the ground. Kuma, taking notice, cocked back their fist and rushed toward the hound. Meanwhile, Darkspun took a deep breath before unleashing a sinister sound blast from their mouth, right at Hatterene. Bun. Hat. The dark sound slammed into Hatterene, doing damage, lowering their special attack and breaking their concentration, freeing Arcanine from their psychic hold. But it was too late. Arcanion tried to leap back to avoid the blow, but Kuma caught them with an uppercut to the jaw, sending the pupper flying into the air, dealing big damage while also healing Kuma once again. Arcanine flipped through the air, landing on its feet right in front of its trainer, staggering a bit due to all the damage they'd taken. Damn it, this is all going to shit. Looks like I don't have a choice. Yaba turned to her sister. Inu, I'm gonna have to leave things to you. I'm gonna take down who I can, but I'll be relying on your defense. Okay. Inu nodded before she and Yaba returned their Pokemon and brought Zappy and Maitaina back out. Substitute. Fuku immediately ordered. Taunt. Yaba countered right after. Maitaina was quicker and performed a tainting motion with their head, enraging Kuma, making their attempt to make a substitute fail. Now hit them with Swagger. Yaba followed up. Gah. Hit them back. With a drain punch. Fuku countered. Take them out. Mystic Fire. Kyoku commanded. Zappy. Play rough on Hatterene. Inu responded. B. Kuma charged toward the dark dog, cocking their fist back for another punch, but Maitaina gave them a swagger-filled grin, increasing Kuma's attack by 2 stages, but also inflicting them with confusion. Where? Kuma suddenly tripped, landing flat on their face with hard thud, doing significant damage to themselves. Meanwhile, Hatterene had finished drawing a circle of fire with their hair, and was getting ready to fire off another fire jet, when suddenly their body seized and was frozen by paralysis. This let Zappy come into the side and tackle them to the ground, dealing even more damage to the hairy fairy. Finally some luck. Let's finish that stupid hat-wearing pixie off. Maitaina. Give Hatterene another taste of your swagger. Yaba commanded. Might. Maitaina howled as they gave Hatterene a swaggerful glance, once again increasing their attack by 2 stages, and inflicting them with confusion. Renee? Hatterene tried to pull itself up, but failed due to their confusion. Now let's go for the kill. Take me down with foul play. Yaba followed up. Helping hand. Inu added. Stop them. Drain punch. Fuku commanded. Bolt. Zappy ran over to their teammate and gave them a pat on the behind, making them explode with power. Maitaina locked in on Hatterene, their eyes glowing red as they tapped into Hatterene's own heavily boosted attack stat, using it to fuel their destructive power, and combining it with the boost from Helping Hand. Boom. Dark energy exploded out from Maitaina's body, and they dashed toward Hatterene. B. Kuma ran to try and reach their ally, cocking back their fist once again. Both Pokemon rushed toward Hatterene, but Maitaina was faster and slammed into the pink pixie, sending them flying. Just before Kuma slammed their fist into the side of Maitaina's face, sending them flying. Both Hatterene and Maitaina hit the wall, both of them with swirls in their eyes, knocked clean out. And it's a double KO. Mies announced. In the battle between Inu and Yaba's killer offense versus the ultra-defensive Fuku and Kyoku, their strategies have evened out, resulting in 2 KOs at the same time. Or so it would seem. While they still have the same amount of Pokemon, that may not be the case for much longer. Arcanine and Zappy are heavily injured, but Kyoku still has 1 Pokemon at full HP. And both Fuku's Pokemon are practically untouched. If anything, I would say the advantage belongs to Fuku and Kyoku. Kiba decreed. True. Metagross is weak to fire. And thanks to Kuma's ability Fluffy, so are they. One good Flare Blitz could do some serious damage to either Pokemon. Mies pointed out. I'd say it's still anyone's game. Ugh. Arcanine, we gotta make this count. Yaba said as she recalled her Maitaina, and brought Arcanine back out onto the battlefield. Stupid taunt. You did your best, Hatterene. We'll take it from here. Kyoku said before grabbing her second Pokeball. Let's finish them. Metagross. Gross? Metagross cried, slamming one of its legs into the dirt, shaking the ground beneath them. Zappy, give Metagross a nuzzle, Inu ordered. Bolt. Zappy's face started sparking, and they rushed to try and attack the giant metal spider, but Kyoku wasn't about to let that happen. Dodge it and counter with Trailblaze, Kyoku commanded. Gross. Metagross folded their arms into their body, using their psychic powers to fly. Their body was enveloped in a green glow, and with a burst of speed they zoomed past Zappy, before turning and rushing them from behind. Arcanine grabbed them and held them in place with Crunch. Yaba shouted. Metagross honed in Zappy. The electric pupper turned around to face their foe, but they wouldn't be able to dodge as by the time they looked, Metagross was already a mere foot away. The psychic supercomputer was just about to ram into Zappy. Suddenly they were stopped as Arcanine came in at the last second and bit into Metagross, dealing super effective damage and stopping them in place. Gross. This allowed Zappy to go forehead, placing their head on Metagross, before unleashing a paralyzing shock. Kuma. Get Arcanine off with a facade, Fuku ordered. Metagross. Force your way forward with Zen Headbutt, Kyoku added. Dodge it, Inu commanded. Use extreme speed to dodge and counter Kuma, Yaba shouted. Gross. Metagross's face started glowing purple, and they started pushing forward with all their might, slipping out of Arcanine's grasp. Zappy leapt out of the way just before Metagross shot out of Arcanine's maw, charging forward and hitting nothing. Meanwhile, Kuma charged at Arcanine, but the fire doggo's body glowed white, and as Kuma threw their punch, Arcanine easily avoided it by leaping to the side, and then ramming themselves at Kuma, dealing a bit of damage and making the bear skid back on its heels a couple feet. Revenge, Fuku countered. Where? Kuma huffed before charging forward, launching their fist at Arcanine. Cancel it out. Play rough, Inu shouted. Boltund. Zappy ran to their ally as quickly as they could, their body glowing pink before they leapt, head fist in the way of Kuma's fist. The attacks cancelled each other out, and Zappy flew back, neither party really taking any damage from the exchange. Hit them while they're in the air, Metagross. Trailblaze, Kyoku dictated. Stop them again with Crunch, Yaba repeated. Not this time, Kuma. Stop them, Fuku countered. Meta. Once again, Metagross's body emitted a green glow before rocketing toward Zappy at full speed. Arcanine turned, about to run to intercept Metagross again, but when they tried to run they felt something holding them in place. They turned to see Kuma holding onto their tail, keeping them from moving. This allowed Metagross to come in cleanly and slam into Zappy, sending them flying. Zappy hit the ground, rolling across the dirt, before finally stopping when they reached their master's feet, arriving with swirls in their eyes. Bolt. And Zappy is the next Pokemon to go down, Mies announced. They put up a good fight, even managing to paralyze Metagross before they left. But now Team Fuku and Kyoku have the numbers advantage. And with Arcanine so low on HP, it's just a matter of time until this turns into a 2-on-1. But Arcanine still has the power to deal some serious damage. Even if they go down, so long as they can cripple the enemy team, they can still win, Kiba pointed out. You did great, Zappy. Take a long rest. Inu consoled her Pokemon as she brought them back into their ball, before taking out Steambun's Pokeball. They hesitated for a second. This would be the last Pokemon sent out by her team for the entire tournament. Suddenly, the ball felt a whole lot heavier, filled with the weight of finality. But she couldn't afford to be afraid. She couldn't let her sister down. And so after taking a deep breath, she tossed her Pokeball. Steambun. I choose you. Darkspun. Steambun barked as they popped out of their Pokeball. All right, Arcanine. Use Flare Blitz on Steambun, Yaba ordered. Arcanine's body burst into flames, forcing Kuma to let go of their tail lest they get burned, and they rushed toward their ally, slamming into them. But instead of exploding and doing damage, Darkspun absorbed the flames using its ability, Well-Baked Body, not only nullifying the damage, but also increasing its defense by 2 stages. Now howl, Yaba continued. It won't be that easy. Metagross. Stop them with Zen Headbutt, Kyoku ordered. Kuma uses a facade on Arcanine, Fuku added. Steambun. Take the attacks for Arcanine and use Wish, Inu shouted. Gross/Wear. Metagross's face glowed purple once again, and both it and Kuma broke out of confusion and started sprinting toward Arcanine, who was taking in a deep breath. Steambun jumped onto Arcanine's back, closed their eyes and sent a bundle of light from their body, up into the sky. 9E. Arcanine let out a powerful show, increasing the attack stats of them and Steam Bun by 1 stage. Both Kuma and Metagross closed in on Arcanine, but suddenly electricity ran through Metagross's body, freezing their systems and causing them to lock up, collapsing on the ground due to paralysis. This left Kuma alone on the offense, thrusting their fist forward to try and sock Arcanine in the snout. But Steam Bun jumped in the way of Kuma's fist, taking the attack instead and getting sent flying back, being stopped when they hit Arcanine's side. Bun. Steam Bun jumped back onto their legs and shook off the hit, not having taken too much on account of their superb defenses. Steam Bun hit back with a draining kiss. Inu commanded, "Dox." Steam Bun leapt onto Kuma's leg and gave it a good peck, super effectively leeching health from the giant bear. B. Kuma kicked their leg up high, flinging Steam Bun off of them, launching them into the air. Kuma. Drain punch on Arcanine. Fuku commanded, "Flare blitz." Yaba countered. B/Arc. Arcanine burst into flames and lunged at Kuma, and Kuma cocked back their fist once again before throwing it forward. Boom. The collision of the two attacks created a massive explosion. Shockwaves rolled out, blowing Steam Bun away, and forcing Metagross to firmly plant themselves in the ground. Arcanine and Kuma both flew out of the smoke cloud, tumbling across the ground, until they reached the feet of their masters. R/B where? Kuma and Arcanine, their bodies covered in wounds, both tried to force themselves back up onto their feet. Slowly they both rose, standing up once again. Only for Arcanine to collapse. Swirls appearing in their eyes. Arcanine is unable to battle. That means Yaba is down and out. Mies announced. But with their last breath, they managed to not only bring Kuma to the brink of defeat, but set up their ally quite nicely, turning them into a true tank of a pupper. The odds are still stacked against them. But we've seen people overcome worse. Kiba pointed out. This game is far from over. I'd say the final act has only just begun. Jur. Damn it all. Yaba swore as she returned Arcanine to their pokeball, before facing her sister. Sorry sis, I did all I could, but it's all on you now. Break their legs. Don't you mean break a leg? Fuku asked. No. Yaba answered. Oh. Fuku gulped. Don't let her scare you. All we gotta do is squash this loaf. And we'll win the whole tournament. Kyoka cheered. Metagross. Meteor mash. Gross. Metagross stomped toward Steam Bun, ready to smash them into the ground. Dig. Inu countered. Bun. As Metagross was nearly upon them, Steam Bun started digging into the earth, rapidly creating a hole in the ground. Metagross finally got in range and raised their foot into the air before slamming it down, only just missing Doxbun as they burrowed into the earth in the nick of a time. Gorse? Metagross looked around to try and figure out where their target had fled to. Then, suddenly, the light that Steam Bun had sent out came back down, sinking into the dirt, right under Kuma. Fuku almost bludged out of her skull. Kuma. Punched the ground. Facade. B. Kuma raised their fist up, and when Steam Bun burst out of the ground under them to attack, they got slammed by Kuma's fist and pinned down, right back into the dirt. Bun. Let's try this again. Meteor mash. Kyoka repeated. Kuma. Throw them into Metagross's attack. Fuku shouted. B. Where? Kuma picked up Steam Bun and, as their master commanded, tossed them right at Metagross. Snarl. Inu ordered. Steam Bun turned mid-air to face their opponent, and as they were flying toward them, they took a deep breath before unleashing their attack. Bun. The tiny dog let out a fearsome snarl, unleashing a dark wave of sinister sound that slammed into Metagross, hitting them for super effective damage and slowing their momentum, stopping them from reaching Metagross, allowing them to land safely on the ground. Wish. Inu followed up. Meteor mash/facade. Fuku and Kyoka ordered. Steam Bun closed their eyes, and as they made their wish, Metagross and Kuma charged toward them from both sides. A bundle of light once again shot out of Steam Bun and into the sky, and as the two enemy Pokemon closed in, suddenly Metagross collapsed, succumbing to paralysis once again. Steam Bun. Dodge Kuma's attack and counter with draining kiss. Inu shouted. Kuma ran up and slammed their fist down. Steam Bun barely managed to dodge by charging forward, using their much smaller size to their advantage. Then they latched onto Kuma's foot and gave it a good peck. And then Kuma immediately fell over, swirls appearing in their eyes. Where? Kuma is unable to battle. It's now 2 Pokemon against 1 in a 2-on-1 battle. She's still outnumbered, but with Steam Bun's super tank powers, they might be able to steal victory from the grasp of the enemy. Kiba announced. Oh, sorry Kuma, I should have switched sooner. Fuku apologized to her Pokemon before bringing out her final Pokeball. The last Pokemon that would be sent out for the whole tournament. She started feeling the same pressure Yaba felt weighing on her shoulders. So she took a deep breath and tossed out her Pokemon. Hell, let's do our best, Kibishi. Lysopod. Kibishi cried as they lunged out of their Pokeball. Steam Bun. Use Dig. Inu commanded. Stop them with Trailblaze. Kyoko ordered. Steam Bun attempted to dig his way into the earth once again, but Metagross came in from behind, their body glowing green as they rammed them, sending them flying toward Kibishi. Poison Jab. Fuku shouted. Liss. Kibishi rushed forward, their claws extending and gaining a poisonous purple hue, and as Steam Bun came close they raised their claws and sent it flying forward, slamming Steam Bun in the back. Bun. Steam Bun let out a pained cry. They were sent flying off Kibishi's claw and hit the ground a few times, skipping off the ground a few times, before skidding through the dirt, and finally coming to a stop after reaching the other end of the arena. Jirrrr. Steam Bun groaned a bit, clearly in quite a bit of pain after taking that super effective attack. Fortunately for them, a second later the bundle of light they had sent up came back down, healing many of their wounds, allowing them to stand once again. But they suddenly winced as a purple spot appeared on their face, and they took damage seemingly out of nowhere. And Inu's heart fell into her stomach. Steam Bun had been poisoned. As far as her strategy was concerned, this was an almost lethal blow. Thankfully, Steam Bun was only poisoned and not badly poisoned. That would have been a death sentence. But this was still very bad. She was on a timer now, which meant she had to move quicker. Steam Bun. Use Snarl on Metagross. Inu commanded. Dodge it with Trailblaze. Kyoko commanded. Dach. Steam Bun unleashed another wave of sound from their mouth, aimed right at Metagross, but the Iron Leg Pokemon simply started flying away from the attack. Steam Bun kept turning to try and hit them, but even with the paralysis, Metagross's speed boost from all its trailblazing made it far too swift. Kibishi. Sand attack. Fuku commanded. Go. Golisopod started running towards Steam Bun, rapidly approaching their foe with a sinister look in their eye. Turn around. Inu ordered. Bun. Steam Bun stopped trying to attack Metagross and looked to see Kibishi rushing toward them, dragging their claws along the ground, ready to fling dirt and sand in their face. And so they simply jumped and turned around, just as it seemed like Golisopod was about to attack. Jump over them. Fuku shouted at the last moment. Gioao. Kibishi leapt over Steam Bun, landed, spun around and kicked sand right into Steam Bun's face. Dox. Meteor Mash. Kyoko dictated. Gross. Metagross flew in from above, then he deactivated his flight mode and dropped down, slamming one of their legs down onto Steam Bun's back, doing super effective damage and pinning them down. Now, keep using sand attack. Fuku added. Golisopod. And so, Kibishi continued to kick sand into Steam Bun's face, while Metagross held them down, lowering the dog's accuracy more and more. Steam Bun. Dig. Inu ordered. Give them another Meteor Mash. Kyoko shouted. Meteor. Metagross raised up its leg to try and give it another thrashing, but its body locked up, paralysis kicking in at the best/worst time. Doxbun took advantage of the opportunity and started digging for its life. Stop them. Kibishi used his poison jab. Fuku commanded. Go. Kibishi raised their claw up, once again infusing it with poisonous power, and slammed it down, just a moment too late as Steam Bun managed to get underground and escape. Gross/Pod. Both of the Pokemon looked around, trying to scan the arena for their opponent. Then the ground under Metagross cracked. Before Kyoko could blurt out a warning, Steam Bun burst out of the ground, slamming Metagross for super effective damage and carrying them both into the sky. Steam Bun. Finish them with Snarl. Inu commanded. Steam Bun looked down on Metagross, or at least they tried to. Sand still clouded their vision, and it felt like they were trying to find something in a sandstorm. They locked onto one of the many blurry images in their vision, took a deep breath, and unleashed another snarl from their lips. Daxus. But the blast of sound missed completely, hitting nothing but the ground as Metagross fell safely. Wish/poison jab. Fuku and Inu ordered at the same time. Steam Bun closed their eyes again as Kibishi ran toward the doggo, before leaping up at them, their poison claws ready to strike. Kibishi rose above Steam Bun, raising their claw up. The light came out of Steam Bun and rose into the air, a moment before Kibishi slammed his poison claw down onto Steam Bun. Wow. Steam Bun slammed into the ground like a meteor, creating a massive cloud of dirt and dust, obscuring them from sight. Lise? Kibishi landed back on the ground and looked around, seeing Metagross struggling to get up thanks to their wounds, and so Kibishi went to assist them. Meanwhile, the cloud started to disperse, revealing Steam Bun conscious but hurt. Their HP nearing the red, and another helping of poison damage actually put them in the red. Dig. Inu urgently ordered. Meteor Mash. Kyoku commanded. Once again, Steam Bun desperately dug into the ground and Metagross chased after them, but their paralysis kicked in again, stopping them from reaching Steam Bun in time. The dog getting away once more. Everyone stayed on high alert as they waited to see where and when Steam Bun would emerge. Then the bundle of light came back down, going into the ground, revealing Steam Bun to be nowhere near any of their opponent. Bun. Steam Bun burst out of the ground once more, completely missing any of their targets. Potion Jab / Meteor Mash. Fuku and Kyoku ordered simultaneously. Gross / Pod. Metagross and Kibishi rushed forward. Metagross got there first, leaping into the air and slamming one of their legs down on Steam Bun, sending them hurtling toward the ground. But before they even managed to hit the dirt, Kibishi came in, and then slammed their claw into their stomach, dealing yet another super effective blow and sending them flying until they slammed into the wall. Steam Bun. Use Snarl on Metagross. Inu ordered. Meteor Mash them right into the wall. Kyoku countered. As Steam Bun took a deep breath, Metagross rapidly crawled toward them, making it halfway before paralysis stopped them once again. Bun. Steam Bun unleashed another wave of sinister sound that tore its way across the battlefield and slammed into Metagross. Gross. Metagross cried as they flipped over, landing on their head, revealing their swirly eyes to their master. Metagross is unable to battle. Kyoku is now out of Pokemon. Nis announced. It's now 1 against 1. In the closest match of the whole tournament. Kibishi has raw destructive power, but even they are struggling to leave a lasting mark on their prey. But Steam Bun is going to have a problem hurting Kibishi as well. They don't have any super effective moves, and they have to keep spending turns healing in order to stay alive. Kiba pointed out. Just one critical hit and it's all over for them. Dang it. Kyoku swore as she returned her Pokemon to her ball with a pout. Sorry big sis. And no, it's fine. Fuku gulped, as she suddenly felt the pressure of winning the entire tournament weighing on her shoulders. Like someone had taken the entire arena and plopped it onto of her. Her legs started to shake and she could feel that unpleasant tingle of panic, when suddenly she heard Inu call out to her. Hey! Inu cried, getting Fuku's attention. Inu closed her eyes and took a deep breath, before opening their eyes and giving Fuku and Kyoku a big smile. This was fun. Fuku stayed silent for a few moments as she processed this information. Fun. Right. This was a game. Just a game. Why yeah. It was. Fuku copied Inu here, closing her eyes and taking a deep breath of her own. Alright, let's do this. Fuku grabbed Kyoku's hand and gave her next command. Potion Jab. Dig. Inu responded. Kibishi tried run at Steam Bun and give them another jab with their poison claw, but Steam Bun managed to dig into the earth and escape once more. Seconds later, Steam Bun burst out of the ground behind Kibishi, barely missing their target, and allowing Kibishi to swing around and slam them with poison jab. Steam Bun bounced across the ground a couple of times before coming to a stop, and quickly getting back on their feet, before wincing in pain after sustaining more poison damage. Wish. Inu commanded. Poison Jab. Dig. Leech Life. Dig. Poison Jab. The battle continued, neither party being able to find an edge. Every time Fuku did damage, Inu would just heal up with Wish, and every time Inu managed to deal damage, Fuku would heal with Leech Life. It seemed as if the battle would never end, but eventually the inevitable happened. Wish ran out of PP. Poison Jab. Fuku shouted once again. Gall? Kibishi gave Steam Bun another good sock to the face with their claws. Docs. Steam Bun hissed in pain as they went sliding back to their side of the battlefield. Their legs shook as they struggled to try and stay upright. But after another round of poison damage, they collapsed. Swirls appearing in their eyes. It's over. It's finally over, everyone. Steam Bun is unable to battle. Yaba and Inu are out of Pokemon. This makes Fuku and Yaba the winners. Nis shouted. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX Kyoko slammed into Fuku, giving her the biggest hug she'd given anyone, who wasn't Izuku, in her life. We did it, sis. We won. We won. Oh my gosh, I actually did it. Fuku nearly collapsed on the spot as she felt all the tension leave her body. Like a full body sigh of relief. Tis it. Well, you can't win them all. Yaba sighed before giving her sister a pat on the back. You did great, sis. Sorry, I couldn't have done better. It's not your fault, sis. We just got outplayed. Inu consoled her. Yaba turned to her opponents. Alright too, you got lucky this time, good job and all that. But next time your asses are ours. We'll take you anytime, anywhere. Kyoko responded cockily while still holding on to her sister. Maybe no anywhere, anytime. Have things to do. Fuku added. The winners of our tournament are Fuku and Kyoko, Kiba shouted. And what have they won? There's a prize. Fuku asked. She honestly didn't expect to get anything out of this. Maybe a medal? They've won the right to face the Elite Four. Knees revealed. The screen changed, showing 4 people who would be the girls' next opponents. Maria and Mina. The Elite what now? Fuku asked. Will the girls be able to beat the Elite Four and challenge the champions? Becoming the very best like no one ever was? Or will their win streak end here? Kiba asked. Fuku gulped. Welcome back, everyone. For the first round of the Elite Four challenge. Kiba announced. For our first battle, we have a power couple who harness the power of science to change the whole world. Kiba introduced. We have Mai and Uchi. Mai and Uchi walked out, making their way to the stage where Fuku and Kyoko were already waiting for them. Hello there, I don't think we've properly met before. My name is Uchibara, it is my pleasure to meet you all. Uchi said, giving the 2 girls a respectful bow. Same, Fuku said as she and Kyoko returned the bow. Nice to see you girls. I hope you're ready for the fight of your lives. Because we've come prepared. Mai warned them. That's right. We'll show you just how potent solar power really is. Uchi said. We didn't get this far by being afraid of the little sun. Me and Fuku are gonna win this whole thing and become the champions. Kyoko proclaimed. Right, Fuku? Yeah, Fuku said nervously, knowing she really couldn't say otherwise. Well then, shall we begin? Mai said. Let's go, Hatterene. Kyoko shouted as she let out her first Pokemon. Lilligant, let's enjoy ourselves. Uchi shouted as she let out her own first Pokemon. Show our ladies a good time, Ninetales. Mai exclaimed as she tossed out her Pokemon as well. Tails/Gant. Both Pokemon cried out as they hit the field. Alright, here we go again, Kibishi, Fuku said as she hesitantly tossed out her Pokemon last. Let the battle begin. Kiba shouted. Immediately, Ninetales' drought ability kicked in, enhancing the power of the sun, baking the entire battlefield in harsh rays of light, which activated Lilligant's chlorophyll ability, drastically increasing their speed. Let's start with a solar beam right in Kibishi's face. Uchi commanded. And give them a burn with Will-O-Wisp. Mai followed up. Use Psychic to help them dodge. Kyoko commanded. Lilligant brought its hands in front of them, quickly charging a beam of solar energy, while Ninetales created several ghostly blue flames on the tips of their tails, and sent them flying over at Kibishi. But when the flames got close, a purple aura surrounded Kibishi's body, and they were lifted into the sky by their partner's psychic powers. The Will-O-Wisp missed, but Lilligant unleashed its attack, sending a huge beam of solar energy to fly at Kibishi. The poor insect could only raise its arms and take the attack head-on. Goal! Kibishi hissed as the beam burned their entire body. The attack lasted for several seconds until it eventually fizzled out, leaving Kibishi more than a little worse for wear. Kibishi used Leech Life on Lilligant. Fuku hurriedly ordered. Hatterene. You know what to do. Kyoko shouted. Slam M. Renee. Hatterene used her psychic powers and sent Kibishi flying down toward Lilligant. Ninetales take the hit. Mai ordered at almost the last second. Just before Kibishi reached their target, Ninetales pushed their partner out of the way, and Kibishi slammed into the fox instead, creating a cloud of dust and dirt. Seconds later, the cloud started to disperse, revealing Kibishi, trying to suck as much HP out of Ninetales as they could, but type resistance was making that difficult for them. They're going to try to burn them again. I can't let that happen. Fuku thought as she raised her Pokeball. Kibishi, come back please. Come on. Please help out. Where? Kuma cheered as they popped onto the battlefield, ready to fight. Just as planned. Nasty plot. My ordered. Lilligant, give Kuma a taste of your weather ball. Uchi followed. Substitute. Fuku quickly ordered. Hatterene, let's fight fire with fire. Use mystic fire on Lilligant. Kyoku commanded. 9. Ninetales started plotting, while Lilligant created a white ball between their petal arms. The ball turned red as it absorbed the sun's rays, doubling in size and bursting with fire, before Lilligant launched the attack right at Kuma. Where? In the nick of time, Kuma jumped back, creating a clone who took the hit in their stead, and immediately vanished as a result of Lilligant's powerful attack. Just as Lilligant's attack finished, Hattern launched a massive wave of fire at the elegant flower girl, consuming her and doing massive damage and lowering their attack stats. Gant. The flames subsided, leaving Lilligant burnt and in the yellow. Substitute. Fuku repeated. Synthesis. Uchi commanded. Lilligant soaked in the sunlight, restoring their HP completely, while Kuma created another duplicate of themselves. You can't make those copies forever. Burn it to ashes, Ninetales. My commanded. Yes, I can. Drain punch. Fuku responded. Get Ninetales closer with psychic. Kyoku assisted. Ninetales opened their mouths, but suddenly they found themselves being lifted into the air, before being brought right to Kuma. Tallless. Ninetales still unleashed a jet of flames from their mouth as it approached Kuma, but the substitute jumped in front of it, and when the attack hit, the clone exploded into a burst of smoke. Then Kuma came diving out of the smoke and slammed their fist into Ninetales' fist, sending them flying back, rolling across the ground before stopping when they got back to their side of the arena. And Ninetales struggled to get back on their feet, the wounds all over their body aching and hurting, the poor fox already on their last legs. All right, let's finish them off. Kyoku cheered. It won't be that easy. Lilligant return. Uchi said as she brought Lilligant back into their ball, before switching them out for her second poke ball. Come out, Sharim. Ririm. Sharim cooed somberly. But quickly the sunlight activated their ability, and a bright light exploded out from them, eventually fading to reveal they had shifted into their sunshine form. Now heal Ninetales up with pollen puff. Uchi followed up. Oh no, you don't. Knock Ninetales out here and now. With psychic. Kyoku ordered. Sharim started gathering pollen into a ball in front of them, but Hatterene was already using their psychic powers to lift Ninetales into the air, before sending them hurtling back down. Ninetales, save yourself with extrasensory. My commanded. Ninetales? Ninetales' eyes glowed as they unleashed waves of psychic force from their body, into the ground, pushing them back, fighting against Hatterne's power to keep themselves from getting slammed. This gave Sharim more than enough time to finish their pollen puff and threw it at Ninetales. The pollen covered their body and healed their wounds, bringing them back to over half health. Then the drought broke, the sunlight returned to normal, and Sharim shifted back into their weaker form. Ninetales return. My called out, breaking up the struggle between Ninetales and Hatterene by returning their Pokemon to their ball before bringing out their next Pokemon. Alakazam, it's your turn. Zam. The PSI Pokemon cried as they popped onto the battlefield. Sunny day. My commanded. Alakazam's eyes glowed and a ball of light formed in front of them, before flying up into the sky, and bursting in size and power, acting like a second sun, drastically increasing the temperature on the battlefield once again. And once more, Sharim shifted into their sunshine form. Oh no, we're getting nowhere. Fuku fretted, nervously searching her brain for any stage she could use to get the upper hand. Sis, Kyoku said, getting her sister's attention. If we can't beat them with defense, then let's beat them with offense. Let's go all out and attack them with everything we've got. Don't worry, I'll keep you alive no matter what. Fuku hesitated. That was a risky play. And if they weren't careful, all they would accomplish is speeding up their defeat. But looking at the determined glint in her little sister's eyes, well, refusing wasn't really an option. Okay, but if we lose, please don't get mad at me, Fuku begged. I won't. Win or lose, we do it together. Kyoku reassured her, giving Fuku just a little bit more confidence. All right. Together. Fuku turned her attention back to the battle. Kuma. Return. Kibishi. Let's keep going. Pod. Kibishi cried as they came back out onto the battlefield. Kibishi. Use Leech Life on Alakazam. Fuku ordered. Put up Reflect and then hold them back with Psychic. My countered. Pod. Kibishi rushed toward Alakazam, while the psychic type quickly threw up a barrier around them and their teammate that would assist them in taking physical attacks. Kibishi was mere feet away from their target. They opened their mouth and lunged forward, aiming for their shoulder, only to be suddenly stopped, held back by Alakazam's psychic powers. Only inches away from their foe, Kibishi was pushed back, but they didn't get far. The bug fought against Alakazam's power, digging its feet into the ground and trying to push itself forward. GD-/Allah. Both Pokemon struggled against the other, but Kibishi was winning out, slowly but surely getting closer and closer to their prey. Sharim. Stop that bug with Solar Beam. Uchi commanded. Chair. Sharim opened its mouth and started charging a ball of solar energy, but just before it launched its attack, Kyoka gave a command. Use Psychic to deflect the attack, and make it hit Alakazam instead. Kyoka ordered. Renee. As Sharim launched their beam, Hatterene used Psychic and forced their whole body to turn, causing the beam to fly toward Alakazam instead. Boom. Chasm. The beam slammed into Alakazam, exploding on contact and sending Alakazam flying, hitting the ground and skidding across the dirt a couple feet before finally coming to a stop. Caca. Alakazam tried to push itself up and shake off the hit, but suddenly, it found itself in the shadow of Kibishi, who was looming over them like death itself. Liss. Kibishi leaned down and bit into Alakazam's shoulder, picking them up, holding them up into the air while they drained HP from them. Zam. Alakazam cried out in pain. Their reflect was the only thing that kept them from passing out, but even then they only had barely a tenth of their HP left. That's enough. Come back, Alakazam. Mai called out as she returned Alakazam to their Pokeball, before bringing Ninetales back out. Come back, Kibishi. Not wanting to risk her bug getting burned, Fuku recalled Kibishi and swapped them out for Kuma. Ninetales used Flamethrower on Kuma. Mai commanded. Fuku gulped. Here we go. Kuma charged through it and used Drain Punch. Hatterene, keep Kuma alive with Pain Split. Kyoku commanded. Where? Kuma started charging toward Ninetales, who in response opened their mouth and let out another jet of fire. Kuma raised their arm to try and guard themselves as the flames slammed into them, setting their whole body alight and dealing devastating damage. But Hatterene's eyes glowed, and using their psychic powers, they started shifting their and Kuma's HP, restoring Kuma's health while draining their own. This easily allowed Kuma to get close and sock Ninetales in the face. But Ninetales barely took any damage, skidding back a few feet, shaking off the blow. B. Kuma cried out as they took damage. That last attack had burned them. Meanwhile, Hatterene was now left with barely any HP after giving most of it to Kuma, something which Uchi decided to take advantage of. Sharim finished Hatterene off with Solar Beam. Quick! Use Pain Split on Sharim before they can hit you. Kyoka urgently ordered. Kuma. Stop them with Facade. Fuku added. Ninetales. Stop them with Flamethrower. Mai finished. Sharim. Sharim created another ball of solar energy in its mouth before firing it at Hatterene. Just before the blast hit, Hatterene's eyes glowed, activating Pain Split and drastically increasing their HP at the expense of doing the opposite to Sharim, leaving them nearly in the red. In the next moment, the beam engulfed them, burning them with solar power, but they now had plenty of HP to take it. Then, as the attack faded out, Kuma came in and slammed their fist down on Sharim, smashing them into the ground before they were hit by a flamethrower, making them quickly flee from the spot, their body alight, revealing Sharim, unconscious with spirals in their eye. The first Pokemon has been knocked out, and it's none other than Sharim. Looks like Fuku and Kyoku aren't going to be any less impressive against the Elite Four as they were in the tournament. Kyoku announced. Tuck and roll. Tuck and roll. Fuku ordered at her currently still on fire Pokemon. While Kuma was rolling around on the ground, Uchi recalled her fainted Pokemon and switched it out for Lilligant. Lilligant. Let's finish Kuma with Weeder Ball. Uchi commanded. Help them out with Flamethrower. Mai added. Substitute. Fuku quickly dictated. Lilligant created a burning weather ball, while Ninetales opened its mouth and launched another flamethrower attack. At the same time, Lilligant launched its own attack. Both aimed right at Kuma. Kuma stepped back, creating a clone right in front of them who took both attacks head-on. Boom. The intense heat of both attacks hitting the same target caused a massive explosion, obscuring Kuma in a cloud of smoke. Substitute and then use Facade on both of them. Fuku commanded. A moment later, two Kumas burst out of the smoke, sprinting toward the fire and grass-type pair as fast as they could. Again. Flamethrower/weather ball. Uchi and Mai ordered. Once again, Ninetales opened its mouth and turned up the heat, while Lilligant created another weather ball. Use Psychic and make Lilligant take the flamethrower instead. Kyoku commanded at the last second, right before they were about to launch their attacks. Hatterene jumped into action, their eyes glowing, and grabbed hold of Lilligant with their psychic powers, but not before the flowering Pokemon launched her attack. The weather ball flew toward one of the Kumas, slamming into it and causing the substitute to vanish. Meanwhile, Lilligant was moved right in front of Ninetales as they unleashed their attack, getting a super effective flamethrower to the face. Gant. 9? Ninetales quickly stopped their friendly fire, but Kuma finally reached them and slammed their fist into Lilligant, sending them flying into Ninetales, which made both of them fly back. The two tumbled to the edge of the ring, Ninetales swiftly shaking off the blow and standing back up, but Lilligant struggled with their wounds, barely able to pick themselves back up onto their feet. Synthesis. Uchi commanded. Pain split. Kyoku countered. Stop her. Flamethrower. Mai shouted. Stop them with facade. Fuku ordered. Gant. Lilligant spread out its arms and took in the intense sunlight, rapidly healing itself. That's when Hatterene's eyes started to go as they initiated the HP shift, but Ninetales aimed their maw at them and got ready to fire. However, they were interrupted when they felt the ground shake and saw Kuma rushing toward them, getting closer and closer until they were practically right on top of them. Then at the last moment, Mai gave another order. Change target. As Kuma cocked back their fist, getting ready to strike, only for Ninetales to turn their head and blast out another stream of fire, hitting Kuma right in the face. Where? Kuma cried out in pain as they stumbled back out of the attack, but their head was still on fire. They stumbled around, frantically waving their arms, until finally collapsing. The fire went out, revealing spirals in their eyes. Kuma is the next one down. So far it's been tit for tat. Let's see if both sides can keep up the heat in this blazing battle. Kiba announced. Sorry Kuma, you did your best, so get plenty of rest, Fuku said as she returned her Pokemon into her Pokeball before grabbing her second one. What should we do? If we take out Lilligant, we can make this a 2-on-1, but I don't want to risk Kibishi getting burned. Kyoku pondered this. I think we should take down Ninetales. If Kibishi gets burned, then this battle is going to be way harder. Okay, let's do it. Fuku turned back to the battlefield and tossed out her last Pokemon once more. Come on Kibishi. Pud. Kibishi cried as they came right back out onto the field. Ninetales used Will-O-Wisp on Kibishi. Mai ordered immediately. 9. Ninetales once again used its tails to form small blue flames before launching them forward. The flames flew through the air, all homing in on the water bug monster. Sand attack. Fuku countered. GOL. Kibishi dug their claw into the ground before flinging it up, sending a wave of dirt and sand flying up. The fire hit it and was quickly smothered, completely neutralizing the attack. And just after that, Reflect wore off. It was the perfect time to strike. Now, hit them with Razor Shell. Fuku followed up. Pod. Kibishi's claws extended, water wrapping around them, increasing their power. However, the strong sunlight caused them to evaporate a bit, lowering their potency. Still, Kibishi ran forward to confront their foxy foe. Again. Will-O-Wisp. Mai shouted. Help them dodge with Psychic. Kyoku added. Hit. Tails? Ninetales launched more blue flames at Kibishi, who just kept running forward. Hatterene's eyes glowed, and Kibishi flew into the air thanks to their partner's psychic powers, dodging the fire, but Lilligant charged another beam before firing it. Reen. Hatterene screamed as the beam engulfed her, burning away at her hair and breaking her concentration, and causing Kibishi to drop like a rock, landing a couple of feet in front of Ninetales. Pod. Kibishi lunged forward and slashed the fox with their claw, dealing super effective damage and making Ninetales skid back, stopping just in front of their master. T-Tails. Ninetales hiss out in pain. Even if the sunlight reduced its power, a super effective hit was still devastating to the fox. And to make things worse, their defense stat had been lowered. Then the light flickered out, returning the weather to normal. Achi. Mai signaled. Achi nodded, and Mai returned Ninetales to their Pokeball and sent out Alakazam in their stead. Leech Life/pin them down with Psychic. Kyoku and Fuku ordered the moment Alakazam came out. Kibishi opened its mouth, revealing terrifying glowing fangs and rushed toward Alakazam. Before they could do anything, they were pinned in place by Hatterene's psychic power. Stop Hatterene with a luring voice. Achi countered. Ganant. Lilligant let out a loud cry, sending pink sound waves rocketing toward their enemy. The sound waves engulfed Hatterene, shaking her body and rupturing their ears, as well as breaking their concentration again, freeing Alakazam. Kibishi was right in front of them, its head flying forward to bite them, but they jumped back, dodging it in the nick of time. Sunny day. My commanded. Zam. Alaxum created another sphere of light and shot it into the sky, once more shifting the weather from neutral to sunny. Again. Leech life. Fuku commanded. Geow. Kibishi lunged toward Alaxum yet again, fangs bared. Take the hit. Uchi knew that at this range, Alaxum wouldn't be able to dodge again, so this was the only option. Lilligant rushed in and pushed Alakazam out of the way, and Kibishi sank their teeth into her instead, biting into her shoulder and lifting her up into the air. Gant. Let's finish her off. Mystic fire. Kyoku commanded. Throw her into it. Fuku ordered. Golisopod. Kibishi tossed Lilligant toward their teammate, while said teammate started drawing a circle of fire in the air in front of them. Solar beam. Uchi countered. While still in the air, flying toward their foe, Lilligant charged another ball of solar energy, before unleashing it in the form of a beam, the force sending her flying back as Hatterene unleashed a torrent of flames. The two attacks collided, and the solar beam overpowered the flames, piercing through the fire and slamming into Hatterene once again. Hatterene. Leech life. Fuku shouted. Lilligant was now flying toward the bug, and Kibishi went to intercept them when Mai gave another order. Throw them away with psychic. Mai commanded. Zam. Alakazam's eyes glowed, and suddenly Kibishi was thrown into a wall. Then Alaxum used its psychic power to stop Lilligant and set them down safely. Now, Lilligant give Hatterene one last blast with solar beam. Uchi ordered. Stop them with psychic. Kyoku countered. Keep Lilligant in place with psychic. Mai countered right back. Lilligant once again started charging its attack. Hatterene activated her psychic powers to try to swat them aside, but Alakazam used their own powers to fight them, allowing Lilligant to focus and fire another beam right at Hatterene. Boom. The beam slammed into Hatterene, exploding on contact, creating a massive cloud of smoke that obscured the hairy fairy from sight. After a few seconds, the smoke began to dissipate, revealing Hatterene on the ground with swirls in their eyes. Hatterene is unable to battle. Team Mai and Uchi now have the numbers advantage, but maybe not for long. Alakazam is on its last legs and has no way to recover its HP. And Lilligant could get taken out at any moment, but they still have plenty of firepower. It's still anyone's game. Nise announced. Damn it. Nise cursed as she returned her Pokemon to their ball. It'll be fine, our Pokemon have more HP than all of their Pokemon combined. We can definitely still beat them. Fuku said, more reassuring herself than Kyoku. Yeah. Now let's finish them off. Kyoku on the other hand, had no doubts about their victory and quickly picked up her other Pokeball and tossed it out. Thrash M Metagross. Gross? Metagross roared as they popped out of the ball, slamming onto the field. Metagross, finish Alaxum off with Trailblaze. Kyoku commanded. Alaxum, reflect. Mai ordered. Metagross glowed green, folded up its legs and flew at Alakazam at top speeds. All Alakazam could do before they arrived was use their powers to set up barriers around them and their partner that reduced damage. Wow. Metagross slammed into Alaxum, sending them flying into a wall and knocking them clean out. Zam. Alaxum is unable to battle. This will put an end to the sun-setting shenanigans. They'll have to make good use of the sun while it lasts and that reflect. Otherwise, they're as good as done for. Kyoku surmised. But Kyoku's gonna have to look out for those powerful super effective attacks. If Fuku is left on her own, it's gonna be a real struggle to make a comeback. Kiba pointed out. You're doing really well, girls, but we're not done yet. Mai said as she subbed out her Pokemon. Ninetales, let's show him what we've got. Tails? Ninetales growled as they came back out onto the field one last time. Synthesis. Uchi commanded. Flamethrower. Mai added. Lilligant spread their arms, and just as they were about to heal themselves, Metagross slammed into them, knocking them aside, sending them rolling across the ground, and leaving them with barely any HP. As Metagross popped its legs back out, they were suddenly bombarded with fire, courtesy of Ninetales' flamethrower. Metagross ran out of the flames, rushing all the way back to their side of the field, giving Lilligant time to get back up, and Ninetales leapt in front of them. Again. Synthesis. Uchi commanded. Ninetales, use Will-O-Wisp on Kibishi. My ordered. Counter with Sand Attack. Fuku shouted. Metagross finished Ninetales off with Giga Impact. As Lilligant spread out their arms and started healing, Ninetales created more blue flames, and Kibishi stuck its claw into the ground ready to smother them. And Metagross leapt up high into the air, flying over Ninetales, before hurtling down toward the fox with alarming speed and terrifying power. Change targets. My pivoted. What? Fuku and Kyoku shouted at once. Tails? Ninetales fired the wisps, shooting them up at Metagross. The wisps were absorbed into Metagross's body, and Metagross slammed down onto Ninetales, pounding them into the ground. Gross? Metagross hissed as a second later, they took damage from their newly afflicted burn. Ninetales, are you still conscious under there? I dared to ask, hoping that the burn in combination with Reflect would be enough to let them survive such an attack. T-Talysis. Ninetales groaned from under Metagross. Still conscious but just barely. Good. Nasty plot. Then Flamethrower. I commanded. Lilligant. Give them some Weeder Balls for good measure. Achi added. No, wait. Kyoka cried. Kibishi, stop Lilligant with Leech Life. Fuku shouted. Pod. Kibishi rushed toward Lilligant, while Lilligant charged up a Weather Ball and fired it right at Metagross, the attack exploding against Metagross's steel-hard body, heating it up and doing super effective damage. Gross? Metagross was finally able to move again. It used its legs to push itself up, only for Ninetales to blast it with Flamethrower from underneath, dealing devastating damage. Gross. Metagross quickly pedaled backward to get away from the fire, and Kibishi jumped over him, ran around the flame-spewing Ninetales, and lunged at Lilligant, biting down on her head, dealing super effective damage. Lil. Finish them. With Poison Jab. Fuku commanded. Stop them. Will-O-Wisp. I commanded. Zen Headbutt. Kyoku shouted. Pud. Kibishi tossed Lilligant up and cocked back their arm, their claws filling with poison. Meanwhile, Ninetales struggled its way out of the crater Metagross had created and started readying the wisps. But just behind them was none other than Metagross, their face glowing a purplish pink as they got ready to attack. Lilligant fell down and the chain of attacks began. Wow. Metagross slammed Ninetales from behind, stopping their attempt at attacking, and a second later, Kibishi slammed their claw into Lilligant's chest. Both Pokemon went flying, landing after a few feet, then skidding across the ground all the way to the feet of their masters, with swirls in their eyes. And double KO finishes the battle. The winner of the first round of the Elite Four challenge is Kyoku and Fuku, and they will be moving on to the end of the challenge. Kiba announced. Yeah. The crowd went wild as the participants bowed to each other. You two did wonderfully. It was my pleasure to be your opponent. Achi said with a genuine smile on her face. Same. Thank you for taking time out of your very busy schedules to battle us. Fuku said in return. Trust me, it really was my pleasure. I've been itching for a break for a while now and I haven't played Pokemon in forever. This was a delightful little distraction. Achi told them. Personally, I was more of a Digimon girl, Mai muttered to herself. And now for the second and final battle of the Elite Four challenge. Will Kyoku and Fuku win this battle and gain the right to challenge the champion? Or is this the end of the road for them? Kiba asked. Up next is M&M duo. Maria and Mina. Knees announced as the last members of the Elite Four made their way to the stage. The M&M duo? It sounds like we're sponsored. Maria pointed out as they walked. I mean, I don't have a problem with being sponsored by chocolate, so long as I get some. And by some, I mean a lot. Mina licked her lips as she imagined swimming in a mountain of chocolates. What do you even need free chocolate for? You get paid enough to buy out an entire store's worth of chocolate. Maria pointed out. Leastin, I don't think I'll ever have enough money to turn down free stuff. Mina explained. They finally met Fuku and Kyoku at the center, and immediately Mina greeted them. Hey girls. You ready to rock? Yeah. We're gonna rock your world and take on the champion. Kyoku proudly proclaimed. I agree with everything she just said. Fuku added. Well then let's start the show, shall we? Maria said. Let's drown M Queenie. Mina shouted as she sent out her Nidoqueen. Obstagoon, let's make some noise. Maria shouted as she sent out her Pokemon as well. Goon/Queen. Both Pokemon cried as they slammed onto the battlefield. Let's show them the might of our mind. Hatterene. Kyoku shouted, letting out her own Pokemon. Here we go again, Kuma, Fuku said, sending out her own Pokemon to join Hatterene. Let the battle begin. Kiba announced. Alright, let's start our battle with Sludge Wave. Mina ordered. Stop them with Psychic. Kyoku countered. Nadu. Hatterene was just a moment too late. Queenie managed to unleash a wave of poison sludge from their body, spreading out in all directions, before Hatterene's psychic energy enveloped them, and slammed them into the ground so hard it cratered the earth around them. Obstruct. Maria ordered, as her Pokemon threw up its arms creating a barrier that protected them from the sludge. Kuma used Substitute. Fuku ordered. As the wave reached the other side of the battlefield, Kuma generated a doppelganger and hid behind them, while Hatterene simply took the attack. The wave slamming into them dealing super effective damage knocked them to the ground, also breaking her concentration and freeing Nidoqueen from their hold. Obstagoon say goodbye and give Hatterene a parting shot. Maria commanded. Gun. Obstagoon let out a sonic blast from their mouth at the downed Hatterene, before being sucked back into their Pokeball, and instantly replaced by Maria's other Pokemon, Toxtricity. Hatterene was hit with the wave, not dealing any damage to her, but lowering her attacking stats by 1 stage. This it. Alright, if that's what you want to do, then how about this? Kyoku returned Hatterene to her Pokeball, sending her other Pokemon out in their stead. Destroy the Metagross. Mina smirked. Gotcha. Queenie used Toxic Spikes. What? No. Kyoku cried as she realized her error. Metagross stopped them with Trailblaze. Kuma. Help out with Drain Punch. Fuku added. No you don't. Toxtricity stopped Kuma with Psychic Noise. Maria ordered. As Queenie generated a bundle of poison spikes in their hands, Metagross's body glowed green, and they folded up their arms into their body and flew toward the Queen. Meanwhile Kuma and their substitute also ran toward Nidoqueen, but they stopped when they heard something odd. Toxtricity was strumming on their chest, sending psychedelic sound waves at Kuma. The waves went right past the fake and slammed into Kuma, sending them flying back, landing on their back right in front of their trainer. Kuma. Fuku looked down fearfully at her partner Pokemon, as they struggled to try and get back up. Not only was that big super effective damage, but it also inflicted them with Heal Block. Meanwhile, Metagross was too late. Queenie managed to hurl their spikes toward the opposite side of the field, just before Metagross rammed into them, causing them to slide back a few feet, taking a bit of damage. This is bad. This is real bad. There's poison all over the place. I can't heal. Oh, this is getting real bad. Fuku shouted in a panic. Then there's only one thing to do. All-out attack. Metagross used Zen Headbutt on Toxtricity. Kyoku ordered. I'm starting to see a pattern with your strategies. Fuku pointed out. But it wasn't like she had any better ideas. But first she needed to get Kuma away from that super effective attack. She returned Kuma to their Pokeball and sent Kibishi onto the field, who immediately landed on one of the toxic spikes and was poisoned. Gioao. Sorry Kibishi. See, could you please use Razor Shell on Queenie? Fuku requested. Pod. Kibishi's claws became cloaked in water as they charged toward Queenie, while Metagross turned toward Toxtricity. The X on their face started to glow pink with psychic energy. Stop them in their tracks. Rock out with Overdrive. Maria commanded. Toxtricity. The electric poison type sang as they strummed their chest strings, generating electricity with each strum, as Metagross charged toward them face first. Boom. A massive wave of electricity exploded out of Toxtricity, zapping both Metagross and Kibishi, stopping them both in their tracks and dealing big damage, especially to Kibishi. She/Gross. Alright Queenie, take a rest. Mina said as she returned Queenie to her Pokeball, and sent out her second Pokemon onto the field. Your turn, Slya. Sol? Slya the shiny Salazzle cried as she hit the battlefield. Now use Toxic on Metagross. Mina commanded. Huh. And I thought you played Pokemon? Don't you know that steel types can't be poisoned? Kyoku said, puffing out her chest, snicking at Mina's obvious mistake. Wait, Kyoku. She can actually poison you though. Fuku tried to warn her, but it was too late. Slya hurled toxic gunk from her mouth onto Metagross. The powerful poison, unnaturally seeping into Metagross's metal hull, somehow managing to poison an inorganic being. What? Kyoku cried as she saw her Pokemon sustain terrible poison. It's her ability, Corrosion. They can poison things that are normally immune to poison. Fuku explained. Ha ha ha. Look who a dum-dum now. Mina said mockingly with the smuggest of looks on her face. P-O-P-P-P-P-P-P-P-P-P-P-P. Kyoku blew her a raspberry before giving her next command. Metagross use Zen Headbutt on Slaya. K keep going. Use Razor Shell on Slaya. Fuku ordered. AP. Slaya defend yourself girl. Use Flamethrower and keep them back. Mina commanded. If you're only going to focus on Mina, then Toxtricity give yourself a tune-up with Shift Gear. Maria added on at the end. Toxtricity got on all fours, its body vibrating as it began shifting gears, while Kibishi and Metagross tried to approach Slaya. Metagross was closer, but they were kept at bay by Slaya letting loose a steam of fire from their mouth. TCH, change of plans. Get behind them and use Trailblaze to bring them over to Kibishi. Kyoka dictated. Gross. Metagross jumped back, folded their legs back in, and with their body glowing green, they rushed around Slaya, and as their master commanded, rammed into them from behind, pushing them right into Kibishi. Pod. Kibishi gave Slaya a rising slash, dealing super effective damage and sending them flying into the air. Now finish them with Zen Headbutt. Kyoku commanded. Oh crap. Stop them with Flamethrower. Mina shouted. Gross. Metagross's X glowed pinkish purple once more as they leapt into air, to meet Slaya, who flipped around mid-air and let loose another steam of fire from their mouth, raining down toward Metagross. Gross. Metagross met the flames head-on and plowed through fire, ignoring the pain and super-effective damage and slamming into Slaya. Fuck. Zlal. Slaya cried as they were flung all the way into the roof of the stadium, embedding themselves in the ceiling, where they lay knocked out. Saul. Oh wow, that was like 3 attacks. Slaya is unable to battle. Nis announced. Despite their relentless offense, Kyoku and Fuku managed to steal the first KO with powerful super-effective attacks. Kiba commented. But with their entire team bound to be poisoned, will they keep up this momentum? Or will their chances of victory rot away? Dang it, I only got to use 2 attacks. Darn paper-thin defenses. Mina said with a pout as she returned Slaya to their pokeball. Well, what's done is done. Let's avenge Slaya, Queenie. Nidu. Queenie roared as they came back onto the battlefield. Slam. Metagross landed back on the battlefield, burns coated their metal body, and they visibly grimaced as poison took away another chunk of their health. No time to waste. Hop on. Kyoka said. Hop on? Kibishi got onto Metagross's back. Fuku ordered. Pod. Kibishi did as instructed, jumping right onto Metagross, riding them like a very very scary bike. Metagross hit Queenie with a Zen Headbutt / Kibishi Razor Shell. Kyoku and Fuku ordered. Gross. Metagross's face glowed again, and Kibishi extended their claw, as Metagross began rushing toward Queenie. Stop them with overdrive. Maria commanded. As Toxtricity began strumming their chest, rapidly building energy, Kyoka gave another command. Metagross, protect Kibishi and change targets to hit Toxtricity. Metagross suddenly stopped and threw Kibishi off their head, causing them to roll onto the ground. Then the Iron Leg Pokemon got in front of them, just as Toxtricity unleashed another explosion of electricity. TYYYYYYY. Gross. Metagross cried out as they took even more devastating damage, knocking their HP down to dangerously low levels. But they toughed it out, waiting out the attack until it ended, before using the last of their strength and charging toward the thunderous amphibian, slamming them with a powerful Zen Headbutt. Toxtricity was sent rolling back, eventually digging their hand into the ground, stopping themselves and giving them a chance to get back onto their feet. But Metagross took one more round of poison damage, staggering back, before collapsing completely, swirls appearing in their eyes. Gross. And Metagross goes down swinging. Now both teams have 3 Pokemon left. It looks like this is going to be a high-speed battle. No matter who wins, we know that it's going to be over in a flash. Nis deduced. Dang it, why do I always go down first? Kyoku grumbled indignantly as she returned Metagross to their Pokeball, before bringing Hatterene back out. Renee. Hatterene winced as they landed on the poison spikes, inflicting them with poison. Pod. Kibishi had pulled themselves back up, and was now rushing toward Queenie, Razor Shell ready. Keep Toxtricity from helping out. With Psychic. Kyoku commanded primitively. Before Maria could give a counter-command, Hatterene's eyes glowed, and Toxtricity was lifted up into the air, before being slammed down, pinned into the ground. Queenie stops that bug in its tracks with Vino shock. Mina ordered. Just as Kibishi was getting close enough to strike, Queenie opened their mouth and unleashed a blast of toxic energy that slammed into Kibishi and exploded. Joel. Kibishi was sent flying back, but they managed to flip their body, landing on their feet about a couple yards back. But as soon as they touched the ground, they staggered. That last attack had done a dozy on them, and the poison had brought them into the red. Another attack and they'd be down for the count. They had to make this next attack last. Hatterene. Helping hand. Kyoku commanded. As Kibishi brandished their blade once, Hatterene extended their hair hand and patted Kibishi's back, causing their body to burst with power, before they rushed toward Queenie once more. Overdrive. Maria ordered. Try. Toxtricity began stomping their chest once more, building up electricity as Kibishi closed in on Queenie. Tricity. Toxtricity unleashed lightning everywhere, zapping Hatterene and Kibishi just as they slashed Queenie across the chest with their claws, sending them flying into the wall of the arena. Put/Queen/Hat. As soon as the attack ended, Hatterene recoiled in pain, while Kibishi collapsed onto the ground, swirls appearing in his eyes. But they did not go alone, as Queenie was also passed out in the wall. Double KO. Kibishi and Queenie are unable to battle. This also knocks Mina out of the battle completely. Mies announced. The numbers are even, but with Mina out this puts Maria at a huge disadvantage, but Toxtricity is plenty strong and can attack both of them at once. Will she manage to blow them back with explosive sound? Or will their music be drowned out? Kiba added. Ah, darn it. Mina said with a pout as she returned her Pokemon to their ball. I lost the bet. I'll take my money as soon as the battle is done. Maria said smugly. What do you even need the money for? I'm pretty sure your pay's higher than mine. Mina pointed. I don't think I'll ever be rich enough to not enjoy winning bets. Maria said with a giggle and a wink. Back on the other side of the battlefield, Fuku finished returning Kibishi to their Pokeball, giving a little reassuring pat. You did a great, Kibishi, take a good long rest. The girl then brought out the next ball, whispered good luck, and sent Kuma back out to battle. B. Kuma cried as they immediately stepped onto the poison spikes, spreading the poison to them as well. Please tough it out, Kuma. Turn that poison against them and hit them with facade. Fuku ordered. Support them with helping hand. Kyoku commanded. Hatterene extended her hair hand and patted Kuma on the back, causing them to burst with power. Where? Kuma rushed toward Toxtricity, their arm cocked back, ready to unleash a powerful blow. Let's show them our greatest hit. Boom burst. Maria ordered. Tox. Try. Toxtricity started strumming their chest, unleashing a massive explosion of sound all over the arena. The sound waves slammed into Hatterene and Kuma. The former used their hair to grab onto the ground to keep themselves from getting blown away, while the latter struggled to stay on their feet, slowly getting pushed back by the overwhelming force of Toxtricity's jam session. Kuma! Fuku shouted, her voice barely managing to reach her Pokemon through the onslaught of sound. Fight on! BBWRRR. Kuma dug their feet into the ground, stopping themselves from sliding back any further. Then, slowly using every ounce of strength they had, they began to move forward, inching closer and closer to Toxtricity. Hatterene, use Psychic to give them a hand. Kyoku screamed. Renee. Hatterene's eyes glowed, and a psychic aura shrouded Kuma's body, allowing them to move easier through the sound waves. Kuma finally reached the toad and unleashed their attack. Boom. Kuma's fist devastated Toxtricity's face, smashing them into the ground so hard it created a massive crater, shaking the entire battlefield, spreading cracks all throughout the area. BBB. Kuma panted as they slowly lifted their fist up, revealing Toxtricity, embedded into the ground as if they'd always been there, and spirals swirling in their eyes. And now Toxtricity is unable to battle. They didn't last long, but they went out with a bang. Kiba announced. Maria is down to one Pokemon, but both Kuma and Hatterene are on their last legs. The battle is coming to an end. Who will come out the victor? You've done great, girls. It's amazing that people are still so passionate about Pokemon in this day and age. Maria said as she returned her Pokemon, before frowning as she acknowledged what she just said. Oh, I sound like my grandpa. Please forget I just said that. Obstagoon, get out here. PFT. Real nice final Pokemon dialogue. I can practically hear the music playing. Mina said while trying not to laugh. Goon. Obstagoon cried as they popped out of their Pokeball, ready for the final confrontation. Hatterene. Pain split. Kyoku commanded. No you don't. Finish them both with hyper voice. Maria commanded. What do I do? What do I do? Neither of us can take another attack. Fuku thought as Obstagoon took a deep breath. That thing is way faster than Hatterene. There's no way she can get off Pain Split before they both get blasted. Wait, if I can just buy her just a second. She can turn everything around. Sorry Kuma. Kuma. Take the blast. All of it. Fuku ordered. Kuma looked over at their teammate, gave them a knowing nod before charging at Obstagoon. Gunin. Obstagoon let out a massive roar, unleashing another blast of sound waves, but Kuma jumped in the way, taking the blast point blank before it could spread out, sparing Hatterene but taking all the damage themselves. This bought just enough time for Hatterene to establish a connection between themselves and Obstagoon, and began draining their HP, restoring them to nearly full health while Obstagoon was left near the red. Meanwhile Kuma was flung across the battlefield, landing on the ground a few yards away, and rolling a few more feet before finally coming to a stop. Laying on their side with swirls in their eyes. Kuma is unable to battle. Fuku is out of Pokemon, so now it's just Kyoku versus Maria. Niche shouted. But things aren't quite even. Kuma's sacrifice has let Hatterene completely turn the tables. For the first time, it seems like the battle is finally leaning toward one side. Let's finish this. Mystic Fire. Kyoku commanded. Obstruct. Maria countered. Hatterene. Hatterene created a circle of fire in front of them, before blasting out a stream of fire toward Obstagoon. But Obstagoon put their arms up, creating a barrier in front of them that blocked the flames. Now counter with payback. Maria shouted. Goon. Obstagoon's claws turned pitch black, and they rushed toward Hatterene with reckless abandon. Dodge with Psychic and counter with Mystic Fire. Kyoku responded. As Obstagoon closed in and lunged to attack, Hatterene used their psychic powers to lift their body up and move to the side, causing Obstagoon to miss their swipe. Then using the hair hand, they drew a circle of fire and unleashed another burst of flame right at Obstagoon. Obstruct. Maria commanded. But she knew she was likely far too late. Obstagoon tried to bring up its arms, but the flames reached the dark type too fast, and before they could hope to do anything, they were engulfed in flames. Boom. The flames hit, exploding against the Pokemon on contact, covering them in a veil of smoke. For a while the stadium went quiet, all eyes glued on the smoke cloud. And when it finally faded, it revealed Obstagoon lying on their back with swirls in their eyes. Goon. And that's it everyone. Obstagoon is unable to battle. Maria is out of Pokemon. That makes Fuku and Kyoku the winners. Nice announced with overwhelming enthusiasm. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX crowd went wild, cheering at the top of their lungs as the battle came to an end. Nice work, girls. You really showed us what you're made of. Good job. Mina said with a big grin and thumbs up. A hard-earned victory, girls. I'm sure Mr. Midoriya is proud of you, Maria told them. Then, before either of the girls could respond, they both felt a hand settle on their heads, and a familiar voice spoke up from behind them. You bet I am. Dad/Mr. Midoriya. Kyoku and Fuku turned to see Izuku Midoriya standing behind them, looking down at them with a big OL smile on his face. Fuku and Kyoku have completed the Elite Four challenge, which means they now have the right to face the great, the powerful, the wise and handsome champion Izuku Midoriya. Kiba announced. Kyoku and Fuku shouted as they looked up at their next opponent, the undefeatable caretaker who'd made all of this possible. Oh, we are so screwed, Fuku thought. And that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed supporting the writer. Don't forget to like, sub, share and donate for more videos.